Now to the issues confronting the world that really are urgent, that really are taking and threatening lives and creating global instability right now. And with his Ukrainian invasion being turned back on him, Russian President Vladimir Putin has announced a massive call-up of reservist soldiers, and he's insinuated he could use nuclear weapons.
If there is a threat to the territorial integrity of our country and for protecting our people, we will certainly use all the means available to us. And I'm not bluffing.
Russians have begun fleeing their country lest they be called up for Ukrainian service. And there have been brave protests in many Russian cities. But while this restores our faith in humanity, those protests, the bravery of these Russians might only add to the volatility of their despotic leader. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has addressed the United Nations General Assembly via video, reaffirming his determination to reclaim all his nation's territory.
We have no choice but to defend ourselves. We do it. We push the aggressor beyond the internationally recognized border of the Ukrainian state. And this is the first item of our peace formula.
US President Joe Biden also spoke to the UN, and his strong words against Russia really served to undermine the impotence of the global organisation.
Let us speak plainly. A permanent member of the United Nations Security Council invaded its neighbor, attempted to erase a sovereign state from the map. Russia has shamelessly violated the core tenets of the United Nations Charter. No more important than the clear prohibition against countries taking the territory of their neighbor by force.
Yeah, Russia is one of the 5 permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. That position brings with it a veto, the ability to strike down any UN action. With China and Russia among the P5, then the most dangerous autocracies in the world can always thwart global attempts to protect sovereignty and to uphold basic human rights. Zelensky has demanded the UN exact some punishment on any of its members who behave like Russia.
Reject the right to vote, deprive delegation rights, remove the right of veto if it is a member of the UN Security Council, in order to punish the aggressor within the institutions.
But this is the tragically absurd catch-22 that nobbles the United Nations. This is its inbuilt weakness. Any attempt to impose such punishment, removing veto rights, would of course be vetoed by Russia and probably China as well. President Biden instead suggests expanding the permanent membership of the United Nations Security Council. Perhaps we could add India, Nigeria, Japan, Brazil, Indonesia, even a Southern Hemisphere leader like Australia. But no matter how many countries you add, representing no matter how many democratic populations, you're still stuck with China and Russia having veto powers. And so we're left with the frustrating spectacle of the world's most powerful democratic leader speaking to the world's preeminent global body, complaining about the crucial issue of nuclear weapons proliferation as practiced by China along with Russia.
And again, today, as I said, they're making irresponsible nuclear threats to use nuclear weapons. China is conducting an unprecedented concerning nuclear buildup without any transparency.
Yeah, dangerous autocracies taking dangerous actions, ignoring the pleas of the free world, ignoring the rules of the United Nations, while they sit with a veto power over the UN's most important body. This is why we must never expect too much from the United Nations. This is why the hope of the world is always to be found in nation states run democratically by free populations. That's why we need to protect our democracy and our freedoms above all else, and why we need to carry a big stick while we're doing it. The plight of the Ukrainian people is a current tragedy and a contemporary strategic flashpoint, and it's also a salient warning for all of us.
Ukraine wants peace. Europe wants peace. The world wants peace. And we have seen who is the only one who wants war.
He is so right, isn't he? These are worrying times. Ukraine's fate looms heavily over Taiwan and where else? Our Foreign Minister, Penny Wong, knows what's at stake.
Russia alone is responsible for this illegal and immoral war, and peace must first lie with Russia withdrawing.
Well said. Australia looks certain to send more military and humanitarian aid to Ukraine. Good. I'll talk to the Ukrainian ambassador to Australia later in the program.